I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena.
And we are here today with Alex. Alex, welcome back to the podcast.
Hello, how are you guys?
We are good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so I'm not going to ask you, were you shocked to go on? I think you were kind of a no-brainer, somebody that was going to be asked to go on Paradise. You go on Paradise. Were you excited? What were you hoping for? Why are you laughing?
You just asked a question to Alex and then answered it for her.
I love it. Thank you.
You said, were you surprised? No, you weren't. Let's keep moving.
Surprised, but you weren't excited at all, actually. No, I was really excited, honestly. I think that was definitely more my wheelhouse than The Bachelor. I think I kind of love, even though it didn't come off that I'm a flirt, I love to flirt. Maybe it's a little awkward, but I love it. So having all these different dynamics and relationships to kind of test out, definitely was really fun. And I was very excited going into it.
Yeah, and I think it looks like you could flirt. I mean, I think, being contestants that have been on the show, I understand when because I was always kind of portrayed as more the awkward one, so they really highlight that, and then people think
right? So I was like,
yeah,
you kind of question your character. You're like, I'm looking at my friends, I'm like, am I that awkward? And they're like, no, not at all. But we can talk about it later. I think a lot of it too is when it comes to feelings and emotions, that's when I get a little uncomfortable, and I think because that's the premise of the show, more of my quirks came out for sure.
Yeah, and it's there are more sides of you than just being awkward. There are more sides to me besides being awkward. Yeah.
There we go. Are we an awkward trio? Is Serena awkward too?
No, Serena's you guys are both fucking awkward. So it's this conversation right now.
You guys are both a little awkward, but I love it. I love a little quirkiness. I also think people forget watching that your first language is French.
That's another thing too that people forget. And I was telling everybody on the show, and they knew, is sometimes it would take me time to process certain things or jokes. And Andrew would always say on the show, I kind of a risk taker. I would say jokes and sometimes it wouldn't land. So then for me to not be embarrassed, I would make it a little awkward. So it's funny, So I think that came into play also a lot.
Okay. So you get down to Paradise and it's you and Jonathan, and as a viewer watching it, it definitely seems like there's something missing.
Yeah, I will be honest. In the first episode, you're in that love triangle, and I actually thought you were going to send Jonathan home.
Okay, so that's interesting. I definitely had more chemistry, I think, with Ricky for sure. But there were certain signs that happen, and you have such a short time that you have to make a quick decision. So you have to look at every little thing and be nitty gritty, look at the nitty gritty of things. And I think what really made my decision sway to Jonathan is I saw more potential in Jonathan, and then kind of the little feud or the little tiff with Hakeem and certain things that were said that it didn't really align with who I was. I wanted to kind of play it differently this time around and not go with what I'm feeling now, but also what is going to be good for longevity and long term.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. But then, you pair up with Jonathan, but there's really nothing there. And then Andrew comes down. You guys have a great conversation. And Andrew does what he always does and screws it up. And he asks Bailey on a date. I'm joking, Andrew.
No, but that's anyways, that's for another conversation.
He ends up asking Bailey on a date. Were you surprised by that?
So this is funny because walking up to the conversation with Andrew, I told my producer, I said this because, every time a guy would come down, they would ask two girls to chat and then they would pick whoever they wanted for the date. And this was going to be the fourth time where someone would pull me for a chat and then they would go for the other girls. So I said as a joke, I said, okay, if I don't get this date, I'm sending myself home. This is I'm obviously doing something wrong. I'm too awkward. I said, I don't know if I have to tap into my sensual side because this is clearly not working. So I'm joking. And so definitely my reaction when Bailey comes in the room and tells me that she gets picked by Andrew, it wasn't necessarily that it was Andrew that I was so upset or had a pin in my stomach for sure, but it was more the overall, I felt embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, something's wrong with me that they choose to talk to me. And then the second I open my mouth, they go with the other girl. So But I wasn't shocked because Bailey is so funny. She's so lighthearted, great that I was, even in that moment when she was crying, that she felt like she was betraying Jeremy for going on that date. I told her, oh my gosh, go for it. You're on Paradise. What else? It's so early on. Like he just went on a date with Susie. Do it. Like go. You have nothing to lose. Like see if there's a connection there. Try it out.
Yeah. And then, so we see, I agree with that. And then
That's gotta suck though. Like I really feel for you because it's like getting punched in the same wound over and over, that by the time Andrew does it, you must
Say
just
that
be like,
one more
I
time,
have this.
Serena. Wait, one more time.
No, you're good. I was going to say, I really feel for you because it's like getting punched in the same wound over and over. And as much as you have a good thing going with Jonathan, I think it's kind of obvious to the viewers, to you, even to Jonathan, maybe that the romantic connection is not there. You clearly are putting yourself out there. You want to find something romantic. And you're like, gosh, I'm like so close every time. And I will say, Bailey is so lovely, but like we know Andrew personally, and I was like, Andrew, like Alexe is like such a fit for you. So I was also surprised, nothing against Bailey, just in terms
of course, knowing Andrew. And
yeah,
I don't know if that was going to be the next question, but so the next day when they came back from the date, things were a little bit put out of order, but I'm the first person he went to talk to. And that's, the conversation was awkward, but it was also very choppy because we were trying to talk in codes because we had pre-existing reasons why we didn't want to go for each other at first. And we kind of talked it out in codes in that conversation. And I was like, well, I thought that you, and he goes, no, I thought that you, I heard that this, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, no, no. And that's the second after that conversation, we were like two peas in a pod. It like made sense. So we had our reservations coming into it, even though you could clearly tell I was into him regardless. But we had our reservations because of, again, external factors. And then when we cleared that up, again, it was just like two peas in a pod.
Do you want to break down those external factors a little bit?
I think there were things that were said in terms of on both ends of the type of people we would usually date outside of this. And we both he thought, well, she's not going to be into me. And I thought, well, I don't think he's going to be into me. So that's why we, like I said, kind of, and maybe that's the decision that's why he chose, I don't know, that's for him to say. But once we had that conversation and we were like, no, that's not true. We were like, okay, well, you're my person, obviously. Because it's funny, right before that conversation, where the night that he chose Bailey, before the conversation we had, the first ever, he goes, I feel like we hadn't even talked. He goes, I feel like there's something, Andrew, I feel like there's something between us. And I'm like, actually, I kind of feel it too. So, yeah.
Well, I think it was the best. I think it was good for him to actually take Bailey instead of you, because then when we do see you guys have a conversation after that date, it seems like he also like kind of went in there a little more chill. He had his guard down. I think he kind of went in there like, well, now I'm just shooting my shot and you're going to see the real me, because now like I'm really going to like go for it. And I think it worked. And I think we actually saw, like, I was like, oh, these two, they have chemistry.
Yeah, he seemed, by the time he had that conversation with you, it seemed like he was like, okay, I kind of know what I want now, and I'm just going to go.
What he told me on the show too, after this is what, or not after the show, but on the show, what he told me his reasoning was too, right? Because I also didn't want to feel like a second option ever. And not that there's anything wrong with that. That's just, I didn't want to feel like if there's a better, because I was going to leave. He had to talk me off the ledge that day. And I was like, no, I'm leaving. He's like, no, please stay. And I'm like, say it again, maybe I'll
You didn't want to feel like, Bailey went back to Jeremy and then he was like, okay, well, let me go try things with Alexe
Exactly. So that's kind of after, like I said, I'm glad we had that conversation because it made just so much more sense. And then we were able to really, get to know each other more.
Okay, so then before Jesse comes down and turns the show into what is now a competition show, where are you and Andrew at as far as your relationship? Are you locked in? Are you boyfriend, girlfriend?
Definitely locked in. It's cute during the compatibility. Oh no, that was actually with when the money came in. But Sean comes in before the money aspect, and he did tell me I was the only one at that point that hadn't gone on a date or left the beach. So he did express some interest in me, and he said, I would love to bring you on a date. And as much as I wanted to get off that beach and just, especially that Andrew had just brought Bailey on a date, I said, I would love to go. I think we'll have a lot of fun. It's like four-wheeling. That's definitely my cup of tea. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think if you choose me, regardless, my rose is going to go to Andrew. So we were both very locked in after that.
Okay,
Okay.
nice.
La La
How
Land.
do you feel when Jesse comes and says the person you're with is your partner now and this is a competition show?
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. No, I was just so happy because it felt like we were already a team, and it was like knowing that we would move as a team felt very reassuring.
What do you think of when you hear Amazon Prime? Delivery truck is just so easy. Right now,
Loving marriage, great as a crowd, please.
only thing on your matter. Clock off with Malibu because like
You may not want to take one date outside the womb can occur. Find the right birth control.
I don't even have to think about it. Need something mid-trip. And you guys are
Consider Jeremy my closest friend. And the night of asking me, who are you in? Every day we FaceTimed every day, like three to apologize.
just like, what's your take on all of it? Or, you know, okay, so now we have to touch on the Bailey Jeremy stuff because you unfortunately are getting, I would say you got a decent amount of heat just for, you know, it seems watching the show, it seems like you and Bailey are super tight and you guys are like best friends. So I think everyone's like, well, Alex, why didn't you tell your friend if you knew this information? And yeah, just like, what's your take on all of it?
Of course. My take is still, I looking back, hindsight's always 2020. I've apologized before all of this aired because I knew I should have told her, and I've continued to apologize. So there's no excuse for that. There's a little bit of context that me and Jeremy coming into Paradise, I considered Jeremy my closest friend on the beach. We had talked every day. We FaceTimed every day, like 3 weeks coming up to Paradise. He told me who he was interested in, being both Bailey and Susie. And so I even joked the first day because during my pre-interviews, they were asking me, who are you interested in? And I said, well, we might, me and Jeremy, we've been talking, maybe I'll try to pursue that. And the first day I said, I really value your friendship. Let's just stay friends. And I would call him my best friend, So then the night of the rose ceremony, when he had to pick between Bailey and Susie, he did come to me and he said, you know me out the best out of everyone here. Who should I pick? I didn't have a friendship with Bailey before Paradise. I know we were on the same season, but different groups of friends.
Yeah,
Sure. Right. So I did say, I would go with Bailey. I mean, I wasn't friends with her before, but I'm her roommate and I'm seeing a lot of really good qualities that I think you guys would really mesh with. So that's kind of, and then the next day when he had his little, he got upset that he went on a date with Andrew, and he came to me. I had just broken up with Jonathan. I was crying, and he tells me he called Susie. I don't want to say I wasn't shocked. I think because I knew he was really conflicted the day before, he told me that, and I felt it was like well, I'm going to be vindictive. You want to go on a date when I picked you, and I really told you how much I liked you. Still not, I think it's really not it's not good behavior, but I think it came from a place of like his ego was bruised. So the next day, we wake up and then I tell him, I think you should just tell Bailey regardless. I think just be straight up with her. I think that's the best thing you can do. And he did tell me that the phone call wasn't a big deal. And I said, that's funny because I said, they're going to air that, right? And he goes, oh no, they won't. It's really not a big deal. And I talked to Bailey and we're good. So for me, I really trusted his word that if he's so confident they're not going to air it, it must not be anything, right? So it doesn't still excuse the fact that I should have told regardless Bailey the next day. I just trusted someone I thought was a friend and trusted his word. And looking back on it now, knowing the extent, I think it makes it even more heightened, right?
Right. And I think that it's like interesting context to be added that you had this close relationship with Jeremy, because I just really don't think that translates watching the show. It does seem like that you and Bailey are so close. We don't actually see a friendship between you and Jeremy, really.
No, not at all. And it's, and we both said, me and Bailey at the end of this, we said, because we both agreed, we were like, I don't think we were really fan of each other before this. And we said, I'm so glad that we were able to see another side of each other and have this bond. But it's, again, I just want to preface again, it's not an excuse. Looking back, it's like, stand up for the, but the information I had at the time, I didn't think it was going to benefit their relationship. I didn't want to make it look like what if the phone call wasn't a big deal and I was just trying to sabotage their relationship, or I look like a tattletale. I thought, you know what? He handled it. He said, it's not a big deal. They're good. And I could tell he really, really liked her, knowing again, that I knew him before the show, and he said he was really interested in her. I just knew a little bit more, I guess, of his feelings towards her, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Were you under the impression, because you mentioned it, were you under the impression when he said it's not a big deal, I already talked to Bailey, did you think that he had told Bailey a little bit about it?
No, because he did say, he said I didn't tell her about the phone call. So that I will admit, he didn't tell me he told her, but he kept saying the phone call was really not a big deal.
You say to Jeremy too at one point, like, hey, like everyone knows, like you should tell Bailey.
Yeah, well, no. So that I don't remember saying that because that point when the whole Brian thing happened, I didn't know. I thought it was me and Andrew that knew. And that's because I thought, oh, he came to me and he told Andrew about it. So I felt a little like, oh, he trusts me. Like because he asked me who to pick, he feels that we have this trust between us. And it's more at the end when someone's told us everybody knows and it's Brian who's going to tell her. Um, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, wait, everyone knows that is terrible. That makes it like, yes, exactly. The joke's on you, which is such an unfortunate position to be in. And no one would want to be in that position. So I definitely felt, no, I felt for Bailey. Absolutely.
You are also you're in a tough position because I would feel like I was in a tough position if I was also friend, like if
It's tough.
you are truly friends with both of them, and on top of it you are dealing with your own shit. Like people do forget that, like,
I was crying over Jonathan that night, right? So I
yeah.
wasn't in a place to be exactly like, oh, let me focus on your relationship and try to fix your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Having lived it and then watching it back in a dream world, how would this situation have played out?
I think I would have, like I said, I did tell Jeremy, I think just be upfront. If it's not a big deal, tell him. I think what I would have done different is maybe ask more about the phone call and then also tell him if you're not going to tell her, I'm going to tell her, right? Like looking back on it, we should have each other's back. And that's something I regret for sure. I don't think I would have gone behind his back and told Bailey because again, he's a friend and I want to be a good friend to him too. But I think going up to him and telling him, if you don't tell her, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Brian does tell Bailey. We see that conversation happen. How are you feeling that night? We see you go talk to Bailey. Kind of walk us through that evening.
Right. So funny enough, that night I was gonna go tell Jeremy it's exactly what I said. If you don't tell her, I will. And the man is sleeping. And all of a sudden, Parisa tells me, that's the night I found out that everyone knew. And Parisa tells me it's Brian who's gonna tell about the phone call. So that's why you see me kind of like, oh my gosh, it's Brian. Because I thought like it would be my position, if anything, to talk to Jeremy. I'm the closest one to him. So that's why it came a surprise. So I'm like going around like, it's Brian who's gonna tell her. Because I was gonna tell Jeremy. And at that point, I think I'm going to speak for myself and a couple of people. All we knew was, again, what I just said, the phone call, and it's not a big deal. So I think that's why it was a shock that it was coming from Brian, because we all thought he knew. We didn't know the extent that he knew about the proposal and whatnot. So knowing just the information we had, I think that's why we were so surprised. Why would it come from Brian?
Right. That makes sense because from the cast perspective, I guess it's just the phone call, whereas Brian is the person that has additional information.
We just know the information that's in front of us, and as we're watching, as with the viewers, we're learning so much more things that's going on in the interviews and things that's been said privately to other people, right? But with what we have in front of us, that's what we thought, yeah. And looking back, no, go ahead, Joe.
Has this situation affected your relationship with Jeremy as of today?
Throughout the season, I made sure to reach out to both to check up on them. And when all of the heat kind of went to us, even that night I checked up on him. I'm just going to say I was a little disappointed that I never received a text or anything or something that I think would have shown that, hey, you had not my back, but you took the heat for something. Maybe I should have been the one to told her. And I never received any of that. So it's definitely, I'm trying to figure that out right now, okay. But so it's tough. Like looking back at the whole show, it's like, is that how he, like things he said about Bailey? It's tough to say, like, is this someone that I would still want to have, in my life?
What do you think of when you hear Amazon Prime? Delivery trucks outside your home, your favorite streaming shows, of course. All from
Theo's career comes cropping in a relationship.
I personally love short, not to do it ever, tastes good. Sippy
Uterus. Nexplanon is the fertility and even ask for Nexplanon.
essentials, here for it. Some of my go-tos. I always grab or your local CV.
My whole mantra, I guess, was
Andrew at all. Okay. So we see. So the game is moving past that subject now. The game's a competition. Are you and Andrew at all talking strategy and how to potentially win, or do you guys even care? Because we don't see you guys talking strategy at all.
so my whole motto, my whole mantra, I guess, was I believe in karma. And of course, everybody wants to win $500,000. That would be silly to say, but my whole mantra was I want good karma. And for good karma to happen is let's put the couples that I think are strong and are going to have longevity outside of this. Let's try to push them to the final, right? And I didn't want to talk about strategy because I felt like that's bad karma. Exactly kind of like what happened to Sean. I think he was which it makes sense. He wanted to be strategic about it, but I felt like if I do that, it's going to bite me in the butt, right? And also I kept saying like, we'll cross that bridge when we cross that bridge, when we want to vote. Like, let's just focus. And I know it sounds very corny to say, but we just wanted to like laugh we didn't want to talk about the game. Like, he's such a funny guy that I was like, give me your best jokes. I don't care about whoever votes for who or who's the alliances. Like, again, just let's be nice to everybody. Hopefully people believe in us.
And you're also like, I didn't sign up for a competition show. Like, I'm just here to date.
Exactly. I mean, I love a good competition. I'm super competitive. I love it. During the games, I was like locked in. But besides that, when it was just one-on-one time with him, we just didn't care. We're like, I think we have a good reputation here, and we've shown people before even the money came into play that we really cared for each other. So that's all we can really do.
It's an interesting element because if you are in a relationship that's working and you see a future, that's clearly where your energy is going to go. But then again, if you are a Sean or a Jonathan or somebody that's in a platonic relationship, it does make sense to be like, okay, well, the interesting part of the rest of the show for me is to play the game. So then the strategy actually becomes like, it becomes a numbers thing where it's like, okay, well, the tight relationships, it makes sense for them to vote the same way and stick together. And then the people that are the other end, it makes sense to try to pick you guys off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't blame Jonathan for doing talking strategy at this point. That was the only thing left for him.
Yeah.
I mean, for Sean, interesting because he did say he was a strong couple. So maybe he should have just stayed with what most of us were thinking. Let's just, cross that bridge when we cross that bridge. He wasn't really in a platonic relationship. So I don't think he was really at risk of being voted out.
We see in this episode, we see like the therapist come down, and you guys have a lot of cute moments. We said in the interview with Kathy, none of us really agreed with this, but the therapist said that you and Andrew don't have any sexual chemistry.
Funny. So I'm curious to see what you guys are going to say because none of us and none of the other couples agreed. We were like, what? We're like, can't stop touching each other. We're always.
Yeah.
What did you guys say?
I think my argument would be like, I don't agree with her, but like you're also like in the woods with like a bajillion bugs, so maybe just like that night she wasn't seeing it, whereas like as someone that's seen you guys like by the pool and by the bar and eating together, I think like the romance really translates.
Right. And one thing that came out of that, of course we didn't agree at first, but we both it really struck a nerve. We're like, oh wait, what are we not seeing that people are seeing, right? So we both reflected on our own about that, and I think something really great came out of that is that we kind of realized on both of our ends that we were holding back a little bit. Like as much as we really liked each other, we had our own again reservations. And that moment when she said there's no chemistry, I talked to my producer and I was like, I like really like him. And I don't know what, I think there's all these things that I'm holding back from. And I realized, no, I want to be honest with my emotion, my feelings with him. And I'm going to tell him that I'm, falling in love with him. And same thing, I think that reflection just helped us grow more together for sure.
Definitely.
What did it mean for you guys to have that conversation about falling in love with each other? And we do see this kind of sweet moment where you realize you're going to say it first, and you shell up a little bit, and Andrew takes your hand and he, takes that jump first.
Right. So, throughout the show, you guys know that I come off very awkward, and especially when it's me talking about my feelings. And again, I don't want to go too much into detail and woe is me, but something I did share with Andrew is, and that we both related, we had not traditional family upbringing. And something that I told him is that I didn't see my dad for 18 years of my life. And my mom, we had a rocky relationship. And I was sexually exploited by someone close to my family. The person that should have been there for me never supported me. So I think I have a very tainted relationship with like what love should look like. And I told him, I said, there's a difference between saying I love you and showing it, right? So growing up, even if I heard it, I didn't really feel it. And I told that to Andrew, and I told him, I said, it's the first time that a partner, because I'm a very open book. I tell everything. I tell everyone my story because it helps me cope. But not only did he listen, he actively made actions to understand me. So when he took my hand and he said, I love you, for I'm falling in love with you first, I knew that was him saying, I know why you are the way you are, and let me step it up for you and show you that I care because I understand where you're coming from. So it was like a moment where I was like, oh, wow, I feel very safe with this person. Yeah, so it was such a beautiful moment. It really my shoulders were just relieved. And then I do what I do best. I get up, and then I'm like, because I'm awkward, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we just shared all these moments. And then I look back and he's not following me. And I'm like, well, he's in love with me. You should follow me back. And he's like, I can't get up. And I have to point it out because that's me. I'm impulsive, and I have to say, which I think it's cute because that's our relationship. Like, it's so, I always say I need to cut it with humor a little bit. I'll be vulnerable, but then I have to snap it back with some humor, and he appreciates that. So I think that's why on the show we make a good team.
Yeah. And I think you're exactly right. Like, that moment encompassed you guys as individuals and as a couple so beautifully, where yeah, I think that's just amazing that he really took the time to get to know you and what you need to feel safe and loved, and in that moment was able to show up for you in that way. And
exactly. Yeah. There's so many other moments where I just felt so, not that he's a therapist to me, but I would, I had tough decisions to make, and then I would shut down. I was so nervous. And he said, do you think you don't like to let people down because X, Y, Z? And I would be like, oh my gosh, wow. First of all, you listen to what I'm telling you, but also you're trying to make sense of who I am and why I do the things I do. And that's not something I've ever had. So definitely on top.
Andrew's like, no sexual chemistry. Here's proof.
Literally, he's like, I am hard as a rock. No.
Take a look at me, baby. Cameras. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you guys have been great to watch. This has been a fun season. I consider you guys to be one of the strongest couples. We don't know what's going to happen. Is there any other thing you want to ask before we let Alex go?
I was going to say, we've only got one episode left of the season. Yes, we have the finale, if you could tease a little bit of that.
So definitely the last episode is going to be surprising. I don't think I've ever been in a position that I experienced something like that. It was I'm just going to say gut-wrenching. To experience.
Well, I mean, this is the first season that they've included a cash prize, a competition element. So we are very excited to see how they close out this season, and who inevitably wins the money potentially. Yeah. So yeah.
Who knows?
Alex, thank you so much for coming on, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thanks for having me, you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Bachelor Happy Hour. Make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast.
We have new and exclusive interviews every single week. Thanks for listening. Bye.